Welcome to the 10th episode of our wonderful video series, special edition Mindshift. I'm Dimitri, and the purpose of Mindshift is to help you create atomic shifts in your mind so that you can live your life with more prosperity, fulfillment, love, and satisfaction. This month's topic in August, we're going to talk about leadership and how actually we can create this impactful leadership in our life. I have two gorgeous ladies together with me to talk about this topic. And actually, we're going to talk about everything. What is leadership? What is the contemporary type of leadership? Some quick key qualities of people who are great leaders. And of course, how we can become great leaders from today. I'm going to give the words to my lovely co-host Laura to share the subtopic for this week and to introduce our great expert and very beautiful lady today. So Laura.
Lovely. Thank you, Dimi, for this beautiful introduction, like always. And today I have an honor to introduce this energetic, shiny, bright person, Sarah Bellorini. And with pleasure, I would like to say a few words about you, Sarah. So first of all, Sarah is an International Coaching Federation certified and accredited energy leadership coach. Sarah is an artist as well, and the best-selling books author, who has recently also been leading a project where she brought together a group of visionary male leaders to write their first book, among other things, about masculine and feminine leadership traits. And I know a little secret that Dimi is a part of this wonderful book, which is going to be published as per plan in September of this year. So congratulations, very, very exciting. And just to kick off our session today, the subtopic for week 1 is leadership. What is leadership? And why is it so important these days? Sarah, could you start first and just share your thoughts on this subtopic?
Of course. Thank you so much, guys. It's so wonderful to be here with you both. Okay, so leadership, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, it's a word that's been around and a concept that's been around for decades. And yeah, I believe that we can get caught up in, what we should be doing rather than what we could be doing as leaders. And I'm specifically passionate about self-leadership because, it all starts with us, really, doesn't it? And so for me, what is leadership? It's when I reflect on my own journey and also the people that I've worked with, and this whole concept around self-leadership, I feel like it's a very personal thing to us, isn't it? Because if we are not sound and solid leaders ourselves, then how are we able to implement and lead others and to create sustainable change in the world? And that's what I'm super passionate about doing. So I'm going to answer the question now. So to make it really simple for the people listening, if you just want to grab a pen and write down lead, L-E-A-D, and for L, I believe it's love. So leadership is loving and leaning in. The E is all about embodying who we are and who we are really at our core. And that's got a lot to do with energy, which is also an E word. And then from this space, we can evolve. The A in lead is about authenticity. So when we actually know who we are in our authentic self and we align that with our authentic mission, then we're able to lead from a higher consciousness space and create high consciousness change in the world. And then the D is desire. So that's the desires of our heart. And really, that's kind of who we are at our core. And so I think you've probably heard me say the word who quite a few times. So to lead, I believe, is to really understand who we are at our core, embody that, and be able to have the confidence and the authenticity and the vision to move that out into the world in a way that's really going to be impactful for other people.
I think it's really brilliant that in your lead model, there is an A, which is authenticity, because personally, it's one of my key values that I have. And often when people ask me, what is this authenticity? It's a concept that I don't feel is very well understood. And so authenticity, I completely relate to what you say. It's about, for me at least, about being happy and proud with who you are, and leading yourself through life by being authentic, you know?
Yeah.
So to add to your point, Sarah, for me, what is leadership, if I may ask myself? I always divide it into two groups. So there is a personal leadership, which you have mentioned as well, and there is leading others. For me, leadership is about living intentionally, or as the famous Stephen Covey says, you know, start with the end in mind. So I feel leadership is a very powerful and necessary tool for reaching the goals, for living your mission, or in business terms, for meeting the targets. And I'm not saying everyone necessarily needs leadership, because I don't see the world as completely black or white necessarily, you know, there might be exceptions. But if you are a person who doesn't want to just go with the flow, but rather, you know, you set an intention, a vision, and you want to go for it, I feel a leadership, doing things with intention, is the tool that will actually help you get to that end that you started with having in mind. What do you feel or think about this topic, Dimi?
This is one of my favorite topics, and I've been researching and thinking about leadership a lot in my life. And I started with myself, like Sarah said, this is the beginning, the foundation of leadership. Because I totally believe that if you know how to lead yourself, it's way easier to create a great team around you and to be a great leader to them. The first thing which I would say is, for me, leadership is a skill. Leadership is not like something like miraculous talent or something or magic, which some people believe that some people have leadership, others not. I think everyone is a leader in a way, but some people don't know what kind of leader they are. And the thing which I say is that it's a skill which is learnable and teachable. And if we know that, it creates a different type of awareness and consciousness, because we know that we can master it, we can make more out of it. So how to actually, and what is the skill of leadership is, first of all, leadership is, there are three main points which I have about it. The first one is leadership is the skill, is the ability to create a compelling vision for yourself or for the team you are leading. So you create a vision, but I'm talking about this compelling, real, vivid vision that where is your destination, where you want to get at the end of this tunnel, whatever you are. So, and sometimes people believe that this is, they say, yeah, what is it? You just know where you're gonna go, but it's not that. It's a skill to create real vision for yourself or to the people. The second one is, and it's very important point which some people forget about it, is the ability to inspire people to buy into this vision. So it's not to only create a vision, but how people will buy into that vision, or you're going to buy into your vision. So one is to have it, but another is to really buy into it and really be having this burning desire inside to get the vision. And the third point which I have is the ability and the skill to really maintain this momentum to get the vision. These small skills, which are very important, how to actually go through the challenges, how to really keep moving forward. This is the real art to know how to make it happen. So these are the points I have, and I believe that once you have this and we really acquire them and train them, then you're getting really to a place where you can say, I'm a great leader for myself, and I can be a great leader for other people. So cool. So let's go to the to the second point we have. And actually, I gave a little bit of beginning this direction is what is actually a great leader, Sarah? What are the key qualities of a person who, in your opinion, is a great leader?
So the question is, what is a great leader? Is that right?
Yes, and some key qualities you can share, which make a great leader.
Yeah, that's a really great question, Dimi. I mean, I just really love this conversation that we're having because it shows that we all have a different perspective on what leadership is, and we're all different people, and we all have something to bring to this discussion, don't we? And yeah, it is this thing about, you touched on this, Dimi, it's, you know, we are all leaders, and, you know, then there's that thing, it's not if we lead, it's how we lead. And I heard Laura say before that what you believe, Laura, is that we're not all leaders, which is totally, you know, that's awesome to have that different opinion, you know. So this is great that we have different opinions in just the three of us here, because there's going to be something for everybody in this discussion, hopefully. And so to that point, it's like, so if we are all essentially leaders at our core, and it's not if we lead, it's how we lead, we can unpack that, can't we? So because what I find, and this LEAD, the love, the embodiment, the authenticity, and the desires that I mentioned when we were discussing, you know, what is leadership, it's like the desire is really the vision that we have, isn't it? The vision for our life, the vision for our tribe, our work, our contribution, our impact that we want to make in the world. But what I find is that so many of us don't know what our true desires are, because we don't know who we are authentically. Like what you were saying, Laura, this piece about authenticity is just so vital. And so we're almost scared to go there. It's like we have so much fear and this kind of low level, what we call catabolic energy, fear-based energy, ego-based energy in the world. And when we have that blocking us, blocking our hearts, we can't actually get under and into who we truly are as a leader. And what can end up happening is that we come from this fear-based, anger-based, broken, I guess, space. And so we don't actually, that's not who we truly are. I think that's what I really want to say. So there's this piece in all leadership, I believe, that when we know who we are truly, and we're able to unpack what is not ours. And I love this whole kind of the metaphor of the iceberg, because, you know, we have something like 65,000 to 75,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of those thoughts are unconscious. And it's like the iceberg, you know, it's the bit underneath the surface that you can't see that does the most damage. So when we're able to go underneath, go into who we are, unpack the bits that, you know, the unconscious mind has just kind of like absorbed. Our unconscious is like a sponge. Everything will go into our unconscious mind. And so when we know what's in there and what's not, doesn't belong to us authentically, and we actually know who we are at our core authentically, then we can create how we lead how we lead ourselves and others, because obviously there is this and others piece. And we can do that from a much more loving space. And what I've also found is that if I haven't done the work myself, I'm not the person that's able to then lead the other people to do the thing. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like, you know, once I've done the work and I can embody whatever it is, then I'm able to be open, and I don't get so triggered. I don't get so scared. I don't feel threatened. I don't feel like I'm being attacked. You know, there's all that ego stuff that goes on. So I know that's kind of like, it's a bit of a bowl of spaghetti and not necessarily a lasagna, just to bring the Italian metaphor in here. But, you know, for me, this is a bit of a bowl of spaghetti, this conversation, isn't it? Because there are so many threads to leadership. There are so many threads to who we are. And our lives are a rich tapestry of experience. And I think it's about going, what's this part that's really authentic, that that I can get behind. And I'll just finish answering the question, and I hope I have answered the question with this. It's like, I think people can really sense inauthenticity so quickly, you know, and none of us have all the answers. And this is why I love this discussion, because we all have something to contribute. And when we've gone through that process of loving ourselves, leaning in, loving the other, leaning in, listening, you know, and we can start to evolve and embody what we're learning. And then more of this authentic self can come up to the fore for us and for the people in our tribes. And then, you know, there's this desire that the desire is really the vision that we're all contributing to together. And then we start to lead collectively, which I think is really beautiful. And we get to do that co-creation piece.
Thank you, Sarah. It's very valuable for people to hear this bowl spaghetti, like you said, and they can unpack it for themselves.
It is always a good thing.
I love this because as you said, it's very important to have these different points of view and just see how you can really create something out of it for yourself. Just take your part of it, you know, create your answer for it. So I would go with my 3 points about leadership. The first one definitely is visionary. I think this word visionary for me really is a very big part of. It doesn't matter if you lead yourself or other people, because when you're a visionary, what I mean is you really know where you're going in certain place, in certain time in your life. And if you are a leader in your life, it's a great idea to have it. And I'm not saying here that you need to know that you don't change the direction, you don't change the place you want to go, but just you have some kind of direction that creates. That's I think the catalyst of leadership. And then you go to the next part, which is, I think, very important, is walking the talk. Yeah. What I mean by walking the talk is, I shared in the previous topic that always there are challenges, and always there is some moments low moments when you go towards your vision or whatever you want to create. And here comes this piece of walking the talk. If you walk the talk with your principles, with your values, with your virtues, and you're doing it, even though the situation is hard, you can inspire yourself and also other people who are with you to keep going. And that's, for me, is the biggest part of leadership, is just, oh, I'm proud of myself that even in this hard moment, I could stay true to what I really believe in. And this piece is so important for our development and achievement and creation. And I've heard so many times that we've spoken that with you, Sarah, that people leave their job not because of the job, or probably not because of the leaders sometimes. And that's, I think, a big part why, because some leaders, they don't do that. And walking the talk, being the example, is so important. And then, of course, compassion. I think this word is, especially the last several years, it went really into leadership. Why compassion is important is because when you have compassion, you really, the thing which happens, it doesn't matter if it's for you or for others, you let other people to be their whole self there, to be holistic, to be who they are. And the interesting thing is, when you let that happen, the potential is just coming out. It just you become better. You just unleash more of who you are in your life. And that's I think it's a great skill to have, how to let people or yourself do that. So yeah, Laura, what do you think about the topic?
Yeah, I think, well, very, very briefly. So I think key qualities of a good leader. Well, personal for me, because I think what is a good leader for you, Dimi, wouldn't necessarily be a good leader for me or for Sarah. So for me, it's personal. It's coming back to the fact that leadership is a very abstract concept. and we all have different meanings assigned to that. So very, very important. For me, I think what is very important is that the leader connects to the team, understands each other very, very well, that the leader is someone who is open to learn as he or she goes, especially if it's leading other people. So very open to learn and reshape oneself, while at the same time disciplined, with a clear opinion, and most importantly, someone who knows the thought process through which that person gets an opinion or takes a decision. And that leads us to the next question, because we probably all would agree that we have seen a lot of changes in everything in our lives in the past several years, including leadership. So really now what I would like to discuss with you guys, and starting with you, Sarah, is the contemporary leadership. What is it? Why is it different? Why is leadership changing? And what are your thoughts really on this modern days leadership, Sarah?
Yeah, thank you, Laura. Again, I just want to say that I love what you guys are doing so much, because what you two are doing is leading. You know, like you've led yourselves, each other, people like myself that have been on this podcast or whatever you call it, your interview, you know, this segment that you do. And you know, you're both millennials, and I, you know, I'm 50, and my parents were baby boomers, and their parents were the silent generation. And you know, I'm not really that much into labeling and putting things in boxes and people in boxes, and I'm definitely not into putting people in boxes. But what I mean is that sometimes it's helpful to have like a frame of reference. And just the reason why I mention the different generations is because, you know, the silent generation, so my parents, you know, they were not, it was all about, you know, let's just follow what we're told, you know, it's not about, you weren't allowed to disrupt, like there was no disruption going on. And then the baby boomers, my parents, they came out of that, and then it's like they had this like reaction to their parents that were coming out of the war, scarcity, you know, you don't rock the boat, you don't disrupt. And then the baby boomers were all like, whoa, you know, like money, materialism, like it was all about all of that kind of external stuff. And that's who you were the house you had, the car you drove, the clothes that you wore, the school you went to, all that stuff. There wasn't anything about the richness that is inside each of us, you know, that's been planted in us at birth, the thing that I call creative potential. You know, this is, each one of us have got this seed inside of us. So my generation comes along, we're kind of like the self-help generation. You know, we've all got like a bookshelf full of personal development books, blah, blah, blah. And then you guys come along, hallelujah, you know, and you guys are like so brave, and you've got like a new consciousness, and it's so refreshing. And what my feeling is around this. So why is contemporary leadership different? This is the question that you asked, Laura. And I think it's consciousness, you know, I really think it's consciousness. And what's been going on in the world recently is a real shift in consciousness. And it's very, very interesting for me to watch this. It's almost like it's a split. You've got the people who know, who believe in, you know, this higher level of consciousness, that know who they are. You know, Laura, you mentioned before, like it's this openness to others. And I believe that we, you know, we can be so open. And Dimi, you mentioned it's this, excuse me, holding the vision, like what's going on now and where am I going to? Excuse me. And I believe that we can do that only when we know who we are at our core, because it's almost like a tree. You know, you want to be rooted in something. You can like move with the wind, but you don't get kind of lifted up and carried away. So for me, contemporary leadership is like, I know who I am. I am so clear on my bad press, all the hoo-ha that stands in the way. I'm really clear about, you know, my core values. I'm clear about my talent DNA. I'm clear about, you know, my strengths, my areas for development, all of this kind of stuff. And I'm so strong in that I am able to be open to other people. I am able to listen to different opinions. I am able to hold the uncertainty through the certainty of who I am and what I am grounded in. And it's I love this word openness, Laura, that you brought to the table before. It's like open-hearted, open-minded, you know. And I think that's the old paradigm, is like, we've got our blinkers on, it's my way or the highway. It's very toxic. It's very yeah, it's like this hierarchical structure. It's like a spear of, and it's just, it doesn't give room for spaciousness. So it's about, for me, it's about bringing this down, not only to a horizontal hierarchy. It's about a circle, actually. It's about coming together and co-creating, like I said before. So it's this, it's your mindset, it's the paradigm, it's the consciousness. It's like, you know, really getting so conscious, I guess, of, yeah, what's not true for me. And when we go into that space of it's like the true self versus the false self. You know, the false self is ego driven, it's fear driven. It's essential, it gets us going, you know, it gets us going at the first half of our life. But there's this transition that happens, and it's not necessarily age related either. You move into this true self, this second half of your life. And when you come into this deeper space of love and real knowing, because you know that there's something greater than yourself at play, you know. And for me, that's contemporary leadership. You know, you're so secure in who you are that you are able to hold the space for what you don't know. And that's pretty kind of funky, isn't it? Because we want to know. So it's brave. It's brave. I think contemporary leadership is brave. And, you know, Brené Brown's talked a lot about that. So, yeah, over to you. You can have the talking stick now, Laura.
No, lovely. Thank you. Me, I have 5 points that I would like to share. So I think, first of all, it's very important to understand that, well, times have changed. And when I see someone stressing before an interview, I always say, well, wait a second, why are you stressing before an interview? It's not them only choosing you, it's you choosing if you want to work with that person, that company, or that leader. So this is something I deeply believe in. Now we live in the times where both sides are choosing. The employers are choosing employees, and the employees are choosing employers. And that is, I think, very important to account for. That also leads me to the second point, which is, the word is inclusive leadership. I think it's extremely important these days that we stopped looking into the very steep hierarchy, and we rather look into flattening our hierarchies at the organization. So really thinking more from the perspective of leading others. Dynamic is a third word. I think it's so important to just be dynamic as a leader. While I also agree with you, Sarah, that you have to be like a tree with your roots deep in the earth, at the same time adjusting, flexible, you know, open to change as you go, because of the environment that is very, very fast on changes. Trust-based, I think, is another key word for these days, leadership, contemporary leadership. And the last one is really, I think leaders should invest into their employees to develop themselves personally, professionally, not only looking into whether that makes a person stay or dependent on my organization, but rather just to help the person grow, even if it makes them leave one day. But if you make them happy as your employees, there is a higher chance they will stay with you for a longer time.
Definitely, Laura, I agree with your points, and also Sarah's. I mean, leadership is changing, like the world is changing now super fast. And I think I'm going to be very short here. That for me, the biggest shift is going from this tough leadership. I call it tough leadership, where just a leader say what is going to happen. Everyone is listening. Everyone is going after that. And even you say countries like Bulgaria, that was even longer as a period, because we finished, we stopped with the communism regime like 32 years ago, something like this. So now we are moving and way more towards this, I call it compassionate leadership, where actually the main idea, I think the function of the leader is different now. Let's say like this. The function of the leader before was seeing as leader is someone who is going to say what you're going to do, and micromanage maybe, and telling you where is the direction. You just do what you need to do operationally. Now leader is more facilitator. Now leader is more a person who is giving the ownership to other people to do their stuff, but it's just facilitating the process for them. Facilitating the process in a way that understanding people can go into their, walk in their shoes, and knows how to really help them enhance their work and empower them to be their true self. Like Sarah said, you have your true self, you know more about yourself, and the leader is helping you even to know more about you and to unleash more of this. So this is more, even you could say from director to facilitator or something like this. This is the biggest shift I see in leadership. And now when we can go to our last point for today is, okay, we know what is a leader, what are the great qualities, what is contemporary leadership. Now let's talk about, if you want to practice to become a great leader from today, from tomorrow, what you can do. What's your first steps you can take to do that, Sarah?
Woo! Has everybody got their pens ready?
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Yeah, we've talked about so much, and these are really awesome questions, guys, that you've asked. So thank you again. I think, yeah, there's so much in this, isn't there? So this is really about kind of landing it and grounding it for people who have watched this and the other three questions that we've been discussing earlier. So for me, I think the top tip is like to get conscious, like who am I, and how am I leading? Is it from this kind of like low level consciousness, fear-based, catabolic, what we call catabolic? Am I being a victim to my circumstances? Am I blaming? Have I got lots of blocked anger inside of me that's, really impacting? And that's, that's the predominant energy in the world today, is this, anger. This is where burnout, etc., occurs. So get conscious, how much of that kind of like fear-based energy do I have that I'm leading from, as opposed to how much of this high level energy do I have, the energy where creativity and vision and contribution, impact, all these beautiful things can exist at. So get conscious. And there are so many tools out there that you can use. I specifically work with one called the Energy Leadership Index Assessment. Forbes has rated that as one of the top 3 assessments for all executives to do. And again, it's not a personality test. This is an attitudinal assessment. So it helps to get you out of the box and into life and into the way that you lead as an individual. So that's the first tip, is to get conscious and to really have some way of measuring that energy that you have. The second thing is to really understand that life and leadership, I believe, is like walking a labyrinth. And a labyrinth is not a maze. A labyrinth has a purposeful path, and you start walking in to the center, and you might go out from the center on this path, but the path is always taking you into the center. And so knowing that, what's that vision that I'm going towards, what's in my heart, who am I? I'm walking towards something. And it's what we've discussed here, it's this openness to others, this, facilitating the process. Like when we know who we are, we can hold that space for that, moving in and moving out, and we're not actually going away from anything. So it's that, know that you're always moving towards the vision, in a really healthy, conscious way. And the third thing, I love Brené Brown so much. So I would say go and watch Brené Brown. She talks about vulnerability. And for me, I totally believe that vulnerability is the birthplace of, really brave, courageous, effective leaders. And her research shows us that vulnerability is the birthplace of creativity, innovation, and change. And so to be a fantastic leader, you have to be able to change. You have to change yourself. You have to be able to, you know, really navigate and lead yourself and others through this constantly changing environment that we live in. Our own environment, our internal environment is constantly changing, and our external environment is constantly changing. So get conscious, know your energy, know that you're walking a labyrinth. And I have a program called the Leadership Labyrinth, and go and watch Brené Brown and find out what vulnerability, you know, is, and practice it. So they're my tips. Thank you.
Lovely, Sarah. Thank you for your tips. And I really love the idea of the labyrinth, and the difference between maze and labyrinth. That was really well explained from you. I would add on your points. Actually, I totally believe that first you need to know yourself. There's no question about it. It's the basics of everything and the foundation. Then I'm gonna add on that for me, I also have 3 points. The first one is get aware of how actually do you lead yourself right now, because you're leading yourself in some way, but maybe you're not aware exactly how you do that. So just get aware on that. When you fail, what you do, how you communicate to yourself, how you criticize yourself, do you praise yourself, are you grateful for what you do in life? Do you really are you aware in the really focal points, in the very important moments in your life, how actually you communicate to yourself? That's super important point, because you're gonna really be now aware of where I am now, and then you're going to decide, of course, where do you want to go? How do I want to be lead? You know, what's the way? What's my favorite way to be led? So that's the first point, and then you go to learn to work on your vision. Just work. For example, I had time when every day I was trying to add something on it. Learn to create a vision, because it's one thing to say I want to be rich. Another thing is I'm seeing my house, I'm seeing my car, I'm seeing how, you know, I'm living next to the beach. I see even my front door, how it looks like. So all these things creates real compelling vision. And then the desire is coming alive, and then you start getting to know ideas, creative ideas, what to do. And of course, I think the last point is definitely learn self-compassion. I mean, that's you shared Brené Brown. She talks a lot about shame and about vulnerability. But I am going to say the word self-compassion by Christine Neff, who I think is also a great person and great, I think she's a psychologist. And self-compassion, this book was a game changer for me in regards of how I communicate to myself. And why self-compassion is important, because when you learn to walk in your own shoes, to know who you are, to accept and deal with yourself fully, especially in the hard moments, then you know how to do that with other people. And in moments when they're in their hardship, you know how to really deal with them. And as I said, these days, leadership is more about facilitation. It's more about helping people to unleash the potential they already have. This skill can be priceless for you in your own life, and if you are a leader of the team. So yeah, that's, I think, I want to.
Okay, so continuing on this week 4 subtopic, well, I totally agree with that part that we need to know how we like to be led. So me, I think I'm coming more from a perspective of leading others. And my first and probably most important point is to know what makes people tick, what makes people pulse, right? So everyone in your team, well, depending how big or small the team is, we have to be realistic, but I think it is important to know personally what drives each of my team members, because I still believe, and having had experience, that we are super different. And one thing that can be motivational, inspirational, like tough high sales targets for someone, monetary reward for someone else, it can be completely demotivational. So very, very important. The second point would be, for you as a leader leading others, take a moment in your calendar weekly for something called reflection, 1 hour booked, busy reflection, long-term planning, and every week regularly check in with, where am I going? Am I going the right direction? Do I need to update, check with my vision? How is everything going? I think it's extremely important to take the time to reflect along the way. And the last point is take a good care of yourself. So adding towards your point, Dimi, of self-compassion, I would also like to say, take a good care of your basics, your sleep, your nutrition, your mental state, whether you do a meditation, cold shower, you go for a run, for a walk, physical activity, right? We all know what is our self-soothing toolbox that we care about, that helps us. But I think it's extremely important, when we are well, we also take much better decisions under pressure, and especially when we need to lead others as well. So these are my points, and I just really want to thank you both, and especially you, Sarah, for being this wonderful guest and expert on the topic. And I'm very, very happy with how it went, and my final word is just a big thanks.
Thank you too.
Thank you guys so much. It's been awesome. Really enjoyed it. Beautifully led.
So Sarah, before we go, the last words will be yours. Just share one sentence. If you can share one tip, last one, with people, just with one sentence to finish up that, what would be that?
One sentence? Goodness gracious, guys. Okay, so as Lara was just talking then, I was thinking emotional intelligence hasn't been mentioned. And so, I'd like to really throw that in, because really what we're talking about, well, it's this self-knowledge, isn't it? And what comes with that is this emotional intelligence. And there's a quote from the woman who leads the London School of Economics, and I don't know it specifically, but it's something along the lines of, in the past it used to be all about brawn, then it was all about the brain, and now it's all about the heart. So
thank you.
That's what I'd like to leave you guys with.
Thank you. Bye.